This video was shot without narration a year after the completion of the original construction project. This video was done in August of 2009 and presents the final plastering process. In the interval in November of 2008, I completed the first coat, or called the scratch coat, of cement plaster on the rest of the interior of the Half Moon that wasn't done in 2008, and poured a 3.5-inch concrete floor. The work that you're seeing now is the application of the second coat, or the brown coat as it's called, of cement plaster to the exterior of the Half Moon. And here we're beginning on the west wall. For most of this process, Ken will be doing the plastering, and I'll be floating it out, which is done with a wet sponge, also in the shape of one of the trowels that you would use for applying cement. In this scene, I am applying cement plaster to the wall, but for most of the time what we did was Ken would go first in applying the plaster, and I would follow as soon as I could after. To float out the surface. Floating with a wet sponge gives a kind of rough but a relatively even surface to the plaster. The coat that you're seeing applied now is done without any color to it. It's the same cement plaster, although it looks much darker because it's wet, and when it dries out it'll look essentially the same light gray that the previous coat did. August in the desert, so we're trying to keep as much moisture in the plaster as possible, have it dry out as slowly as possible. Particularly difficult around the back round side. The plaster is not very thick, although as you can see, the Half Moon plaque that is right near Ken was installed when I did the original finishing up of some of the exterior work that had been left undone in August of 2008. So Ken's now applying water to the surface where he's going to apply plaster, and then immediately thereafter you apply the plaster, and what I'm doing with the trowel-shaped sponge is floating out the surface, or evening out the surface. We took a fair amount of time to get the preparation started on our first day of work, so it took us the full day to get the brown coat, or the second coat of plaster, on all the way around the Half Moon, and we'll be finishing up at the end of the day. You'll see when we get there that it's getting dark now as we're finishing up for the day, and sunset is approaching. So we did manage to complete the full exterior, one coat all the way around, in the course of a day, and had the opportunity to enjoy a nice sunset afterwards. There's the view looking to the south of the Half Moon. And that's how it looks finished for the first day. Now, here's the interior. The galley has been installed after I poured the concrete floor. Actually, before I poured the concrete floor. The water system is very simple. We're still pumping water out of that bucket, out of the blue bucket, and the galley sink drains into a regular orange bucket. And as you can see, the inside of the bed rack has now been cemented, plastered up and down, and the electrical wires buried behind the plaster wall. That's the little temperature sensor that's been kept through most of the time, so that I have accurate temperature readings of the interior of the Half Moon and the exterior for over a year. The sand that we acquired was really not fine enough to do a good job with plastering, so part of the process had to be tossing the sand through a screen to collect the finer material and get some of the larger pieces of gravel out of the sand before we used it. Our second day at work, we spent the whole morning in preparation, really, and I don't think we got any plastering work done before lunch, which is what you see happening here. I guess that's our mid-morning break. I just like the visual, so I thought I'd throw it into the video. We did, after we got our materials together, we completed the brown coat throughout the interior of the Half Moon. So all the way around the Half Moon, we've now completed the second coat of plaster, and that's where we left it from this trip. So as of spring of 2010, we still have not done the color coat inside the Half Moon, and the floor is still very rough. We have yet to install a ceiling, so there's plenty of work yet to be done. But here you can see we're bringing the plaster around in the brown coat on the interior walls. Ken's moistening the wall. He's using a couple of float sponges to hasten the moistening or speed up his moistening of the walls, and then he'll apply the plaster. As you can see, we're trying to do some shaping of these walls, particularly that wall near the bed rack, which was kind of wavy from the original bag work, and we've been building it out. Here we're applying the color coat to the outside, so this would be day 3 of our return project in August of 2009. And that project, that day's work took the full day as well. So we spent the whole day going around the exterior, beginning with the west wing wall and working our way around to the east wing wall, mixing cement and plastering as we went. 2 people working on a plastering project is a little bit short as a crew. It's a lot better than doing it by yourself, though. So we managed to keep up a pretty good pace, and as you'll see, here we are at the end of the day, having completed pretty much all of the color coat work. Up on the upper right, you can see the small tiles that have been set into the wall. 3 of them were brought back from a vacation in Mexico by my daughter, and the 4th one is actually has a little Half Moon logo that was created for the project. And once again, we've draped it as much as we can to slow down the evaporation. Now here is the world's simplest greywater system. The sink drains into a bucket, and this little tree here really took a beating during the original construction project. I dragged another tree trunk over it and really did a lot of violence to this little tree. So since then I've been nourishing it with all of the greywater from the Half Moon, and it's really already grown noticeably in the last year. So I think it's probably time to start pouring the greywater into the garden. But right now, as of spring of 2010, it's still gotten all of the greywater out of the Half Moon so far. And this was done the last day after Ken has left, and I finished my cleaning up from the project. And here I am, just doing the last of the arrangements before I take off for the day, and for this phase of the project. So the rest of the Half Moon story you can pick off the website.